US President Donald Trump has announced that his country will resume testing its nuclear weapons for the first time in 3 decades, citing Russia and China doing their own tests. A massive Russian drone and missile attack overnight into Thursday killed 3 people, including a 7-year-old girl, and injured 17 others, including children.
Buckingham Palace says Prince Andrew is to lose his prince title and move out of his royal lodge over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. The United States is restricting the number of refugees admitted annually to the country to 7,500, and they will mostly be white South Africans, the lowest refugee admission cap in the U.S. history. According to a register notice published on Thursday but dated September 30, the admission of the 7,500 refugees during the 2026 budget year is, quote, justified by humanitarian concerns or is otherwise in the national interest, end of quote. The new numbers are a steep decrease from last year's ceiling of 125,000 set under Democratic President Joe Biden. Trump suspended the refugee program on his first day in office, and since then, only a trickle have entered the U.S., mostly white South Africans. The announcement cements a major shift in policy toward refugees that aligns with the Trump administration's goals of keeping out foreigners whom it deems a risk to U.S. security or a threat to jobs. But analysts believe the move effectively suspends America's traditional role as a haven for those fleeing war and persecution.
U.S. President Donald Trump returned to Washington after a face-to-face meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping on Thursday. Trump called the meeting a success and said he would cut tariffs on China. In return, Beijing agreed to allow for the export of rare earth minerals and would start buying American soybeans.
I thought it was an amazing meeting. He's a great leader of a very powerful, very strong country, China. And what can I say? It was an outstanding group of decisions, I think, that was made.
Trump had implemented the tariffs as a punishment on China for selling chemicals used to make fentanyl in the U.S. In response, China hit back by imposing additional export restrictions on its rare earth minerals. While these controls were initially a response to U.S. tariffs, the EU had become collateral damage in the dispute. Chinese President Xi Jinping admitted the U.S. and China did not see, quote, eye to eye with each other at times, adding that it was normal that two leading economies have friction from time to time. However, he said that China and the U.S. are able to help each other succeed and prosper together. Trump announced that he will travel to China in April and also invited Xi for a visit to the United States.
A massive Russian drone and missile attack overnight into Thursday killed 3 people, including a 7-year-old girl, Ukrainian officials have said. Ukraine's Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko described Moscow's daily targeting of the power grid as systematic energy terror. The latest deadly strikes also injured 17 others in the south region of Zaporizhia, including children between the ages of 2 and 16. The rescuers pulled a man from the rubble of a building, but he did not survive, while the 7-year-old girl died in a hospital. Russia launched more than 650 drones and more than 50 missiles of various types in the attack, President Volodymyr Zelensky said. Months of attacks have aimed to disrupt the power supplies, cut the heat during the bitter winter, and erode morale. To stop this terror, Ukraine needs more air defense systems, tougher sanctions, and maximum pressure on Russia, Prime Minister Sviridenko said. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development has warned these attacks pose a new challenge as Russia scales up strikes on Ukraine's already weakened infrastructure. Norwegian Airlines will become the first European carrier to fly directly to Baghdad, the Greek foreign minister said on Thursday during a visit to Iraq. The Greek airline is scheduled to operate its inaugural flight from Athens to Iraqi capital on the 16th of December. Greek Foreign Minister Yorgos Karapetritis said this step will substantially boost economic and cultural ties. His Iraqi counterpart, Fuat Hussein, welcomed the move, saying recent visits from European leaders show the stability country is experiencing. Hussein added that the two countries also discussed cooperation in agriculture, investment and tourism. The news comes as plans are underway to upgrade Baghdad International Airport.
The Dutch election is going to the wire, with forces led by newcomer Rob Jetten of the centrist liberal D66 party making spectacular gains in a blow to the far-right PVV led by Geert Wilders. But with the PVV looming close behind and the final result too close to call, many questions remain open about the possibilities for the potential next coalition.
There is a big distinction between D66 and the PVV here, because D66 might actually form a government, right? It's a centrist party. There's many majorities that D66 could form. The PVV not so much, because basically the entire Dutch political center has said that they will not cooperate with them.
Although Wilders may still come out on top in terms of the popular vote, yet it remains a much more likely choice for Prime Minister. But other big parties on both the left and the right may prove decisive on where the coalition will end up on the political spectrum.
So the Green Left Labour Party has just lost a lot of seats. Their leader has stepped down and they are in no talking mood. However, it is very clear that they do want to participate in the government also with the VVD. The VVD, however, has basically run their campaign on not being willing to cooperate with the Green Left Labour Party. So that will be a very difficult hurdle to take.
In 2023, the Netherlands took more than 6 months to reach a coalition agreement.
Almost 2 weeks after the crown jewel heist at the Louvre in Paris, 5 more people were arrested Wednesday overnight. One of them, who was identified by DNA, is suspected of being part of the 4-person team that robbed the museum in broad daylight. That's according to a Paris public prosecutor. The prosecutor added that the 4 other arrests concern people who could provide information about how the theft unfolded. The latest arrests did not help recover the stolen pieces, valued at 88 million euro.
Après, moi, ce que je souhaite très clairement, c'est dire à ceux qui les détiendraient aujourd'hui, c'est qu'évidemment, la justice saura tenir compte de l'absence de préjudice de ce cambriolage.
Ça veut dire que c'est un deal, ou c'est parce que ça c'est la suite logique de la justice?
C'est la suite logique, c'est la suite logique de ce qui se réalise dans chaque affaire. Je dirais la coopération en enquête, on en tient compte pour la peine, évidemment.
On Saturday, 2 other men were arrested and were said to have since partially admitted their involvement in the robbery. They face preliminary charges of theft committed by an organized gang and criminal conspiracy and are expected to be held in provisional detention.
The European Central Bank is staying on the course. On Thursday, the ECB announced that it would hold its interest rate at 2%. The Frankfurt-based bank has not changed its monetary policy since June. The European institution also announced that year-on-year inflation rose slightly in September to 2.2%, slightly above the ECB's target.
We are determined to ensure that inflation stabilizes at our 2% target in the medium term. We will follow a data-dependent and meeting-by-meeting approach to determining the appropriate monetary policy stance.
The ECB's announcement comes a few hours after the US Federal Reserve decided to cut its key interest rate by 1/4 point to around 3.9%. This is the second time this year that the central bank has chosen to lower its key interest rate.
King Charles is stripping his brother Prince Andrew of his remaining titles and evicting him from his royal residence, Buckingham Palace said in a statement on Thursday. The palace said Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and not as a prince. The move follows revelations about his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The renewed attention follows claims from Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who died by suicide in April, that she had sexual encounters with Andrew when she was 17. Andrew has long denied Jeffrey's claims but stepped down from loyal duties in 2019.